Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Jenny Productions TV, and on our program, My Story, My Motivation, where we are sharing stories to transform lives. And today, I have a special person. As you can see him, he's a man of God, and he have a great story, a story that is going to change your life. So, be with us, walk with us, and listen to this story. And I promise you, you're going to be changed. So, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
So,
I'm very grateful for inviting me to this show.
you are very welcome.
I'm glad that you have me.
Okay. So, you're going to start by telling us your name and who you are,
Yes.
where you come from,
Yes.
and we proceed from there.
My name's Reverend Isaac Kairu.
Okay.
I love the Lord. He is my personal Savior. He is my Lord. He's the one that has guided me all through to this time. I want to focus on my call.
Oh, wow.
The call of God.
Yes.
And how ministers of the gospel are called.
Wow.
Might not be, those who are listening to me might not have been called that way. But the road that I passed, God told me that that is the road that His people
Yes.
always go through.
Wow.
I lost my dad when I was 7 years. I am a mama's boy.
That is interesting.
Because I was raised by my mom, and all along I was with my mom. And to make it worse, I was the last born among the 8 children.
Wow.
And myself, I was born, the brother that I follow, we have a difference of 8 years.
Okay.
So that means, that tells you, I was born when my mother was around 45 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, having been raised by old parents, or rather, parents that were aged,
Yeah.
Actually, even my mom was telling me, I was not even expecting you. I had closed that chapter of giving birth, and all of a sudden I came, and she used to tell me all through that I was a blessing to her, and I was a blessing to the family.
And you're indeed a blessing.
Why did I start with my father's death? I started with my father's death because immediately after my father passed on, that is when I realized. That is when I received the first calling of God at the age of 7 years.
Okay.
I remember we had, as a family, we were all gathered at the sitting room,
Okay.
taking supper. I did not come through a family that was well up.
Okay.
Our house was a thatched house with mud. Every season of Christmas, we used to take white soil,
Okay.
so that we may be able to put a smooth mud around
the
our
house. Okay.
So at this evening, as we were gathering, taking a supper together, I took my supper. Since I was young, I used to feel sleepy earlier. I could not have stayed awake up to 9. I remember this time I went to sleep at around 8. Went to the room, but when my father passed on and was buried, I occupied his room
Okay.
with my mom.
Okay.
I went back to the place that he was sleeping.
Yeah, I understand. You've been the last born, mama's boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my mom wanted that care, and the care that he wanted after losing the husband was through the young child.
Yeah.
And I could find myself going to sleep at her bed.
Okay. Yeah.
This evening, why I am calling it particular, I went to bed. We were using hurricane lamps that time, or that lamp that you would use a can, and then put a wick there, and then small oil, and then you use it as a lamp.
Yeah, sure.
In my mother tongue, in my native language, we normally call it kanitera.
Yeah, true.
I had to go with the hurricane lamp because that kanitera, I was young to use it,
Sure.
because I could have burned the house. Went with the hurricane lamp and put it there. And when I was feeling that I needed to sleep, I switched it off. We were blowing it that time.
Oh, sure.
It went off. And then I covered myself. All of a sudden, the room that I was sleeping filled with a lot of light. Light that was terrifying. Not just light, because one, this house had no electricity. This house had no, it was a muddy house. The reflection of that light made me to be awake. Immediately I woke up and started looking around because I was shivering, and all of a sudden I had a voice that told me to keep calm. It is the Lord that was speaking to me, and I did not know the Lord. I asked. The person that talked to me in my native language. Nini mwathani ndirakwariria. And then I waited, but I was shivering a lot because the light was too much. I could not even have opened my eyes to see it because it was penetrating to the eye, even to the heart. It was illuminating the whole body. And my mom was a house help. She was working in a Mzungu house as a house help. So most of our items in the house were actually were donated by the Mzungu where my mom was working. So we had a cupboard. And on top of that cupboard now, the person that was talking to me was on top of it. I could see the head. And he had a very beautiful smile.
Wow.
He was smiling at me and looking at me and told me, I have selected ne gudurete we tondu ni njui ni ukotoria. Looked at him like this because I could not even know and contemplate on what I was being called for. Then from there he left and the light went off. I came out screaming and rushed to the table room where my brothers were and my sister, and I told them the story. I have been visited by somebody that I do not know, and they told me go and sleep. That is just but a bad dream.
Sure.
And I told them this is not a dream. I saw somebody. Come, I show you. I saw somebody on top of the cupboard, and he talked to me and told me that I have selected you and I need you to go for me and I will give you strength.
Wow. I can only imagine that situation, because if my son came today and told me that he has seen something, I will not believe him. Most likely I will never believe him.
Yes, that is the doubt that was
happened to you.
Even my own mother doubted me, and they all rushed to see what I was seeing, and unfortunately there was nothing, and the whole room was filled with darkness, and I was commanded to sleep again. My mom told me, "Koma nederoka no tige iroto ici ciaku ndirenda guciona nyumba ino." I continued sleeping. Then from there, I could not be the same. From there, I would see things by imagination. I could see we had sheep, we had goats, and I could point at one goat like that and tell my mom, ile mburi ĩrĩa nĩkwĩita, ile mbuzi itajinyonga. The goat that you're seeing there, the sheep that you're seeing there will kill itself. And she was wondering. How did she react? She was wondering, from the time he dreamt, he's become different. And for sure, that night will not end. That day will not end before that act happens. Wow. I remember when I was, at this time I was around 5 years or so, 7 years. 7 years again. I was above 7 years. I was around now 10 years. Okay. I was now 10 years. Okay. I remember telling my mom. I remember telling my mom that we'll move out of this village, because I could see the whole of this village burning. All the homes that are around us were on fire. Okay. They were torched by people who were running from one homestead to the other, killing and collecting all our animals. And she could not again understand.
Was it a dream? Or were you visually seeing that?
I was visualizing. I was just visualizing. I could just sit like that and a vision will come down. Wow. And I will see it as a dream. Or I would take lunch and go for a snap. Okay. A snap of 3 minutes was enough to give me a message that would either happen that time or a message that would happen for 10 years to come. Then I told her we are going to move to a place called Kairu. I was born and brought up in a place called Wasingishu, Wasingishu County, a place called Kaptagat. Kaptagat was a place that was mixed of all tribes. It was a cosmopolitan place. Sure to my words, after around 8 years to come, that thing happened. There were clashes around our place. There were tribal clashes around our place, and it happened exactly the way I described it at that time. And I described it in 1995. 1995. And this thing happened in 1992.
When did you have this dream? Yes.
1985.
85.
Yes.
And it happened?
In 1992.
Okay.
It happened in 1992 during the multi-party. There was people were crying for the multi-party, and for sure they were given. And after that, there was a price to pay, and this price was some people were removed out of their location by burning of their houses and destroying their properties. All our properties went on fire because we were caught one evening. One morning, not evening, one morning people came and burned our houses and took away our cattle. We had cattle and sheep, they took them away. Okay. And then we were to move to a place that we did not know. We had an aunt in Nakuru County. We moved, all of us as a family moved to that place called Nakuru.
Nakuru?
Yes. Okay. Some of my brothers were working. Most of them were working because there was a big age gap. And most of them were married. Almost all of them were married. It was me and the brother that had followed that we were just young boys.
Sure.
We moved to Nakuru and stayed for a period of time. And at this time I was almost completing my class 8.
Okay.
I did my class 8 in 1993, and after moving out of that place, and then from there again I went to high school to that part. I was called there at a school called Iten, St. Patrick's Boys High School, Iten. It is along the Kairu Valley.
Okay.
That is a school that I was really I was aspiring to go, and my aspiration was achieved. So when we moved to Nakuru, we stayed in Nakuru for 6 years, and at that time I moved to Nairobi to continue with my high school studies. After completion, that is 1997, that is when we had to move from Nakuru now to the place that I told my mom, Nyahururu. And I even described our home, how our home was to be.
Wow.
And for sure, my description was exact. It was my mom who recognized and said, I remember you telling me about such a scenario. We got a land there. We bought a land, 5 acre, and from there we even bought a home. And the home that we bought is exactly the thing that I described in 1985. I was to talk about my call, and I was when I was born, I was taken to the house of God. I was laid hands in the house of God, in a church called AIC, Kaptagat AIC Church. That is where I grew up in Sunday school as a toddler. Entered Sunday school. For those people who know AIC, there is a stage that you go there by stages. You grow by entering to different stages. I came out of Sunday school. I went to senior Sunday school that was called battalion. I joined the battalion, not the battalion that was fighting, but the battalion, the youth, that age, the age of between 12 and 16. That is the age that that was called battalion. And then from there you entered into junior youth. From junior youth, senior youth, and from senior youth now you are allowed to marry. And then you are welcome to the other side. So I passed through that, and through that I was a leader. I led in all these groups. I was a leader in battalion. I was a leader in junior youth. I was also a leader in senior youth. Then from there, I got, actually all this time, despite of being entered into the house of God, I was not born again. I got born again when I was in high school. One time we had received we were having a weekend challenge, and by this time I was even going to CU. I was very active in CU, participating in everything that the CU people were doing. And this time I visited the church. I visited the weekend challenge, and from there we had a visitor from Nairobi who had visited our school for a weekend challenge, and he preached a very powerful sermon. I still remember up to this time. And how I got saved was strange. Actually, when he called for an altar call, I was seated at the back, And I could hear, he told us, all of you, I need all of you to close your eyes and to reflect on God and to see the love of God. After listening to this sermon, I would like you now to focus unto God. And in that state of closing the eyes and reflecting, I heard people moving forward. Benches were being moved, and I thought I'm the only one who has been left seated.
Okay.
I moved forward in a very humble way, and went forward. As I went there, as I reached at the pulpit of the church, I was told to kneel down, and the rest. And he said in Kiswahili, is there any other person who wants to give his life to the Lord? I wondered, kwani I'm alone? I had so many people coming forward.
True.
And he said, he repeated 3 times, and he said, if there is no other, let's pray for this.
Why closing the eyes?
I was at that time.
How did you move to the?
What happened is I was moved by the benches.
Okay.
People moved to the benches, and I thought I am the only one who was left seated. And I moved, and in so doing, I moved forward.
Found yourself alone.
And I found myself alone. Then I was prayed for. And that is the time that I received Jesus for the first time. It is true that I was not born again. It was true. Despite of passing all those stages, I wasn't saved.
Yeah.
Despite of being a leader in all those stages, I was not saved. And I received Jesus. And now it was a walk of faith, starting a walk of faith. I did not know that that is when my problems were starting to gravitate.
You know, people were expecting like a new turnaround of things, that life would be better from that point.
Yes.
But from your words, that was the start of your problems.
That was the beginning of my problems. And one time, another weekend challenge that we had, I decided not to go to the weekend challenge.
Okay.
I decided in our school, they used to bring video.
Okay.
We used to watch video every Saturday and Friday. From Friday to Saturday, we used to watch video. And this time, I remember it was on a Saturday. I turned around my life again, so that I may hold firm my salvation. I went into the midst of those people. I was in the midst of those people who were watching movies. The movie was there, and boys were shouting high because of the peer group, and there were jubilations and what have you. And then, you know, in a movie room, they normally switch off the lights. I was in their midst, and someone came and said, before we continue, before we go further, this house has been visited by a brethren. And everyone was looking around. Who is this brethren? And they said, if you know that you are a brethren and you have visited this room, wake up so that we may welcome you with a clap of hands. I looked around. I was also looking around to see who is going to wake up. And the MC, or the guy that was leading there, pointed at me. He said, that brethren, you that is looking at the back, wake up. I woke up, and they said, can you clap for this brethren that has joined us today? Can you? And I was caught by a lot of shame. That is
You didn't
how,
expect that.
when you visit a place that is not yours, when you visit a territory that is not yours, Satan will always ashame you. He will always make sure that you are ashamed. And I was caught there. I was actually caught there in the midst of around 400 boys that were watching the movie. In a hall, a packed hall. I was all alone. A small boy who was very timid, very shy. I woke up and I was told, "Brethren, come and greet the people of this house. Come and greet the people of this house." I was forced to go at the front and took the mic and told them, "I'm very sorry that I have joined this house. I know I was not expected to be in this house, but there was a movie that was coming, and it is the one that has brought me here."
The golden message.
I say, they all clapped with mockery. It was a clap of mockery and shout of mockery.
So the person who called you wanted to shame you?
Definitely.
Oh.
Definitely. He wanted to show me that I am not supposed to be in that group.
Because you're saved.
Yes, it's like going to a club, a pastor going to a club where people are holding bottles of beer up and singing a song that belongs to that side. I was caught in that midst, and I got so ashamed. The following day, I was announced at the CU that one of the brethren, one of the boys from the CU, one of the CU leaders, was caught in a movie that is not supposed to be seen, that it's obscene to the Christians. Then life continued. Went home. I was a leader there at home, our youth. I was leading the youth group. And the call continued, started again. When I could hear only a verse, only a word, 3 words. "You refused to work for me. Every place that I take you, you do not work for me." That voice will disturb me, will make me not to take food. Okay. And I was finding myself in a mess. Every time that I would go against it, I'll find myself in mud. I'll find myself being ashamed again. I remember this other time I had joined campaign. And I was there cheering those who are campaigning, cheering those who are voting, because I had no voting card by then. It was 1997. I was there in their midst, and I was found again in the midst, in a club of those people who I don't want to call them sinners, because we all pursue to righteousness. We all pursue to salvation.
True.
I was found there and cheering in the midst of the campaigners, dancing with them, and I went to a dancing hall. I found myself going to a dancing hall to celebrate that person that had won, the MP of the area, who had come from our area. I went to celebrate together with the others in a disco hall, and I found myself dancing together. I had forgotten that in our church I lead the youth. At school I was a CU secretary, and again somebody came and pulled me aside and asked me, "Aren't you the one who was leading us on Sunday? Aren't you the one who preached this sermon that touched my heart? What is happening with you now?" got so ashamed. It went down to me like thunder.
Yeah.
And I had no choice than to hide myself and come out of through the back door and go home and never to be seen there again.
Wow.
Then in my working, now that I got married, I married in the church. I did a church wedding. I got a lady in that youth group. We married. We did a good wedding, and then from there I was introduced to become a deacon, a church deacon. After 3 months, I became a church deacon.
Wow.
After 6 months, there was an election in our church, and I was elected to be among the elders.
How old were you by that time?
By then I was around 27 years.
Okay.
I was 27 years.
Okay.
Then from there I started working. I went through college. I got my, even I had another challenge that I will not talk about it right now.
Okay.
In college I had around 3 challenges over finding myself in a place that I was not supposed to be. And I was, through that, I was being hit very badly. I remember one time I failed in my exam. The exam that we were doing, because of entering into a group that I was not supposed to be. And one thing that I used to do is that I was a person of resolution. Once I make a resolution, I will not go back to it. I will not fulfill it. Then my journey went to my working place. As I started working, I thought now becoming an elder and a working person would fulfill all my, will suppress that voice that used to talk to me. And I would work hard. I remember me and my pastor, we worked on a program whereby I was the one to preach. I advised my pastor to allow me to preach in the English service, so that I may not face the wrath that I was going through, because for not serving the Lord. And I was given, and I thought serving God through preaching in the English service, and I knew a church elder and a pastor
Almost on the same level.
They were almost in the same level, and I was telling God, I am serving you as an elder. So, and at the same time, now I am preaching your word, the word that you want me to preach.
So you were trying to hide yourself from the voice.
I was trying. All this time I was hiding myself from the voice.
Okay.
All this time I was hiding myself.
Can you describe the voice, because some of the people are wondering?
The voice. Those who are listening to me, I want to tell you that the voice of God is so tender. The voice of God is so soft. The voice of God is so gentle that at times you may not be able to recognize it. But a person who is called would be able to hear. Wow. And will be able to recognize that that is the voice of God. Wow. And when it comes to you, it pierces through the heart, the mind, and you will not be the same again. When immediately it speaks to you, you will not be the same again.
So, welcome back, and you are describing the call. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think, if I was seated with you here, would you have had that call? And if you had it, would I have had it?
What you will see when that call comes to me, I will not be comfortable even talking to you. I will just switch off. Everything will went off. In me, the physical me will be switched off. Okay. And then you will see me moving out and doing my own things, and you wonder what is this guy doing. Okay, that's how the call used to come.
Okay.
Now I was at my working place. This time I used to be disturbed by that voice. It came numerously, and one time it came when I was on top of the roof, removing the area. I was moving from one house to the other, and I was on top of a second floor roof, removing the area. And this time again the voice came, you refused to work for me.
And you're at the top?
At the top of the roof. And everything went on disarray. I found myself coming down.
Oh my God.
I came down from the roof, going down the iron sheet, and I thank God I fell on a latrine pit. On top of the latrine, I fell on top of it, and I broke everything, and fell inside the latrine pit. Those people who were there could not even have rescued. They went down to laughter, because they could not even have hold their laughter. They laughed at me.
I guess it's because the bucket thing.
Because of the impact that I came with it. And when I broke the latrine, I found a bucket, an iron bucket, which really pained me, but I could not have heard the pain.
Laughing.
And people were laughing. Instead of helping me, they were laughing all through.
And it was as a result that you assumed the voice.
It is as a result of assuming the voice.
Like
I did not act on the voice.
Then what happened?
Then from there I was taken to hospital. After a few days I became well. Then another time I was driving. At this time I had bought a car.
Okay.
God had blessed me. I had my own house. I bought a house, had a car, and as I was driving to the place of my work, I came head on with a lorry that was carrying sand.
Okay.
And again, as we were overtaking each other,
Yes.
again the voice came. I lost control of the steering. I started, I tried to control the steering, but I could not be able. And ahead of me there was a lorry that was coming with speed.
Okay.
And I was headed to hit it head on. But God rescued me through a thin, I could say thin air. I was rescued, and the owner of the driver of the lorry came out, made a lot of noise to me, because he was saying, kwani unataka kujiua kijana?
How did you get saved?
Yes.
How did you get saved from the accident? Because you said you were overtaken and the lorry was coming so fast.
Yeah, actually the lorry was coming so fast. As I was trying to control the vehicle, just in a slim way, I overtook the vehicle. In a very extremely slim. When I talk of a slim, it's not even this finger. It's not even this finger. My vehicle did not get any scratch. It was not touched, neither the lorry. We overtook each other less than this finger.
I understand.
And I stopped. I went ahead and stopped ahead, and the lorry stopped again and came out with a lot of noise, asking me why I wanted to kill myself. Was I in a suicide mission? And I could not be able to explain my repercussion of that. It's a voice that came to me, that was speaking to me, That is why I started behaving like that. Again, this was a major one. This was my turnaround. My turnaround was reached at a place called Nithi River. Those who come from Meru, they know. Those who are in Kenya and they know a place called Meru. When you go towards Meru, there is a river that is called Nithi River. That is from the bridge, it's 80 feet down. I was going down the valley, and again that voice. Actually, that voice was coming to me when I was alone. It came to me again. I was just all alone, driving down. And this time I could not be able to control it. The vehicle started wobbling. I tried in my whole way bringing it to control, but I was not able. And it started rolling as I was inside. First time, second time, the third time I was thrown out and taken to a place, to a safer ground, where I was sat in a grass, and the vehicle went down, and it became a scrape. Nothing could have been rescued from that vehicle. And then I remember some people were coming there asking me, have those people who are in that vehicle, have they died? And I'm the one who was the victim. I could not even be able to talk to them because I was all shaking. Police came. They told me, because you are the first, you are the eyewitness. We'll go with you to the police so that you may be able to give your story. I was taken to the police and I told them I am the one who was driving that car. What do you want? What are you saying? You are the one who was in that car. What happened? I told them that the vehicle rolled and I found myself out. Oh, kijana wewe unampenda Mungu sana. Mungu amekuokoa. That is what that is how one police told me. Mungu amekuokoa kwa ajili hiyo ni ajali ingekuwa mbaya. We thought that it had killed people, but the others who are investigating came back and said that the vehicle was a wreck. It could not be. What came out of it is only a wreckage of that vehicle. Taken to the hospital to check if I was in good condition, and they found that I didn't even come out with a scratch. I went home. I was released to go home, and then I was to go to hospital. I was taken to my place of work. I explained to what came about, and I told them I lost control. I had no other explanation. And this other one, now I was an elder. I thought that now I would suppress that sound by by entering into the Department of Development. And this time I was working with my own money. I gave out a lot more than the others. During Harambes, during fundraisings, so that I may be able to see if the voice of God.
So in short, you were trying to please God.
I was trying to please God.
But you were ignoring His voice.
I was ignoring the voice, the call. I was ignoring the call because the call was, I was required to start serving Him as a pastor. And actually, to be sincere, I did not want to be a pastor. One time when I was young, I could see some Wakorinos. Wakorinos are those people, those faithfuls that wear white band, white band at their head, and at times they would wear white clothes. And I see their lives. They lived in a life of struggling, and most of the pastors were living in a life of struggling, and I hated that. I said, God, if this is the life of serving you, I do not want. If this is how people go through due to serving me, I would rather stay how I am.
Because actually, from that story that you're giving more than others, that means you're doing well financially. And when you looked at the picture, the partners were living.
They were living in a poverty condition. They were, especially those pastors who are not supported by the church. I want to tell you, the church, please support your pastors. Kindly support your servant, the servant of the Lord who is serving you. Hold his hand, because it's not him, but it's God. If you do not support him, you yourself, your things will not go well. That is my plea. What happened to me now? My turnaround.
Yes.
When I had that accident, I will now try another way of pleasing God, and I acted actively in my state as an elder, and even I would even organize fellowships, and I made sure that I'm the one who is preaching in those fellowships, just to please God. It came a time, this time I remember, I was the one to go and preach in the English service, and lead the service at the Sopili. I woke up, I dressed, I took a shower, dressed well. When I was tying my tie, the voice came again. And this time, I was conditioned not to go to that church. Not that Sunday, but forever. To never to step in that church. I asked God, why? Is this not your church? I was told, stay at home until I show you where you will go. I had no explanation. I told my family that we are not going to church, and my wife asked me, are you sick? I told him no. The voice came again. What was it saying at this time? It was, I was told to stay at home until further notice. The further notice that I did not know how or when it will be accomplished. We stayed at home. I told my wife to call the church and tell the elders to organize themselves, because I'm not going to go to church. And we had to lie, because my wife told them that the elder Kairu is sick, cannot be able to come to church today. And after church, all the elders came to see by their eyes how this elder is combating the sickness. And they found me well. And the following day, they were surprised to see me going to work. I worked for the 6 days. The following day, I had to pull another reason on why I was not to go to church. It went like that until they called my wife to go and explain why I was not going. To cut the story short, I was directed to a church called CFF. That is where I started serving. And up to now, that is where I was called. I later on went to a Bible school. I passed through the Bible school and ordained in 2018. Those who are watching me, I want to tell you, take serious. However young you are, take serious the calling of God. If you do not take serious the calling of God, God will disturb you until you accept the calling. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I can see a question here.
Yes.
Asking, you are saved, but you are not. Okay, let me. The question is, you are saved, but God was not comfortable, or God was not was not feeling.
I had not realized my calling. The realization of my calling is when you're called by God. Those ministers who are watching at me, the realization of God's call is when you not necessarily going to a Bible school, because God will give you His word. He will put His word in your heart. The realization of a minister of God is when you come forward and tell the people of God that you have been called to minister and to serve as a minister of God. And then the elders of the church will now organize for you to go to a Bible school, or to give you, since you have now been called to a higher calling. That's a higher calling. Since you've been given a higher calling, they will know how to organize for you to take your position. God wants you to take your position. And taking the position is taking the mandate of being a minister. And how do you take the mandate of being a minister? Is leaving everything that you have and deciding to serve God. That is how you start taking your mandate.
Okay. Another question. Do you still hear the voices?
When I accepted the call and I took my position, the voice that I hear nowadays is either of a direction, taking a certain direction. I'm now led on what to do. God leads me on what to do.
Okay.
He still speaks. Actually, I vividly hear His voice. I vividly could see what He's telling me through a vision, or at times He may speak to me through a dream on what He wants me to do. Yeah.
Wow.
And if I don't do it, the consequences will be the same.
They will still follow you.
They will still follow me.
Wow. What a touching story.
Amen.
And I can see you have these.
The crutches.
Yes.
Let me say that I will explain that another day. If you bring me here another time, I'll be able to explain and expound about that. On that, what happened to me for not responding to His call again.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Guys, you have heard the story that once God has chosen you, you have to make the call right. You have to work upon that call and do what God requires you to do. And if you don't do, the consequences will always follow you. And as Pastor Reverend Kairu has said, that the story is still young. He's going to tell us on another session why he's using them, and I know this story is going to touch you, because I know it and it's going to touch you. So guys, continue sharing this story with your friends, with your families, as we continue transforming lives with our stories. And God bless you so much. And as always, this is Gentle Productions, and you can subscribe to our channel, and we're going to give you more. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Asante.